Okay, so those of you who do not know me, I'm Martyn Ford. I first came onto the scene with a transformation which, well, was pretty mind-blowing, even if I do say so myself. Now, many people have wrote about how I did this transformation. Not many people, well, in fact, no one has ever actually asked me personally how I did it. So, here is my story from skinny geek to Hollywood film star. Okay, as you can see, if you're after serious results, when you go into the gym, your mind's got to be strong, you've got to be focused, and nothing other than 100% is going to work. So make sure each and every single session, that mind's switched on. Now, anyone who's out there who has trained in the past and understands the basics of building muscle, you'll understand that this room here, the kitchen, is pretty much where it's at. You've got to make sure in order to get big that you eat big, but not just eat big, you've got to eat sensible. Now, what I like to do, the foundations for me when I went through my transformation, and even now when I'm trying to pack muscle on, is I try and keep the meals quite basic, quite simple, and as healthy and as natural as possible. So I tend to work with single ingredients such as rice, pasta, potatoes, oats. And then when I hit the meats, I'll hit fish, turkey, chicken, steak, and really try and keep the meals simple. So I'm trying to get down myself around about 7,500 to 8,000 calories at the moment. But it's got to be 7,500 to 8,000 calories of quality food. There's no point me just relying on cheap, calorie-dense meals to get the food in, because what I'm going to be putting into my body ultimately is what's going to be growing the system. So remember, when you put the food in, the body's got to be able to, one, digest it, and two, utilize it. If the body can't digest and utilize the food, the calories you're putting in are pretty worthless. So make sure when you are eating for size that you're eating quality ingredients and to the correct amounts. Now, post-training for me, I'm going to be looking at incorporating a combination of carbohydrates and proteins with minimal fat post-training, because I don't want the body to have to break down the food and be held up too much on the breakdown of fats. Fats will slow down the digestion process. So after training, it's important that you're getting a nice balance of carbohydrates and protein that can be broken down easily and shuttled into the muscle. So for me, I'm going to take hold of some chicken, some potato, and salad. My initial reason why I started weight training was purely because I needed a different avenue to, well, to be honest, just to release the anxiety of everyday life. I didn't feel great about myself at the time. I'd gone from playing sports into being a bit of a recluse, if I'm honest. And I felt lost. I felt skinny, and I didn't like the person inside. So the weight training for me was a way to change, one, who I was, and two, my opinion on myself. Okay, when I first started training, I was around about 12 stone, which for someone that's over 6'7" isn't a great weight. From the pictures you will see, I pretty much resembled a rake, which for a 21-year-old lad wasn't the look I was really going for. So within 6 to 12 months of making that decision that I wanted to put on some muscle, it was pretty crazy. I went between 21, 22 stone rapidly within a number of months. I'd say between 10 to 12 months I put that weight on. Now, the way I put that weight on was pretty basic, to be honest, and it was done on a shoestring budget. I just finished university. I didn't have a massive amount of money to invest on products or on nutrition. So I relied heavily on cheap ingredients and trying to make sure that I got the fundamentals and the basic foods that I had to get into my system. So it was a regular trip to the shop, which involved buying rice, oats, potatoes, tuna, chicken, steak. So it was very much trying to put on muscle on a shoestring budget, which anyone out there that's tried to do that before will know it's not the easiest of things to do. The basic principles of food for me was to make sure that I managed to get myself full at every meal. I'd come from a sporting background and I knew the food pyramid to me was our education when it came to food. So for those out there that are over the age of, let's say, 30, you probably understand exactly what I mean by the food pyramid. The basics would be carbohydrates, followed by proteins, followed by fats. So for me, as long as I was able to put a good amount of carbohydrate and a good amount of protein with vegetables and fruit into my system, roughly every 2 to 3 hours, I was extremely happy with that. Now you've got to remember, when I started training 15, 20 years ago, the education on how to eat properly and microbalancing foods, timing of foods, it wasn't really there. So our education was very much self-taught. When it comes to training, again, my knowledge 20 years ago was very different to what it is today. So for me, as long as I could go into a gym and I could pick a body part and I could train it to complete failure, for me that was progressive and I felt like it was benefiting me, especially for putting on muscle mass. I think I was very fortunate with two things. One, I had the mentality to train hard, and two, my body was extremely responsive. Because I'd come from a background of sports, so my fitness level was pretty good. I was very good at cardio-based exercise. So I pretty much took the fundamentals of what I'd learned with cardio training and applied that to weight training. I didn't realize at the time, but it's a great way to grow muscle. So I kept a lot of volume and intensity on the muscle throughout a 60 to 70 minute workout. The go-to supplements back in the day for me was very simple. It was protein powder, it was creatine, and it was carb powder. That was pretty much all I used to put the initial muscle mass on. Now, I'm not saying that if I was to do it again today, I would use the same supplements, or in fact use just 3 base supplements. But when we're talking 15, 20 years ago, one, the amount of supplementation on the market wasn't there, and two, the knowledge in the supplements wasn't quite there. Okay, now the expense on food can vary. Believe me, I've done this diet when I was poor and I've done it now that I have more expendable income. Back in the day, I tried to keep my food budget around £50 to £60 a week. Nowadays, it can be anything from £150 to £200. Okay, if I could go back in time and give myself any advice, it would be to train sensible and to eat quality food at the right times. I think what I may have done in the past is I've probably eaten too much and I've not allowed the body to digest the food in the right way. Therefore, not only wasting money when it comes to eating food, but also probably wasting time and also straining the system a lot. I've come to realize the importance of allowing the body to digest and utilize food, which is the biggest lesson I think I've learned over the last few years of training. Okay, the advice that I would give to any of you guys out there who are looking at adding muscle, who are just starting in the game, is don't try to run before you can walk. Make sure that you understand the fundamentals of weight training and the fundamentals of nutrition. When it comes to training, don't overtrain. I hear a lot of people say that you can't overtrain. It's a false claim. Believe me, I've been there, I've done that on numerous occasions. You can overtrain and you will not get the results you want. Not only that, you could actually start going backwards. So for anyone out there that's looking to get into the weight gain or the bodybuilding world, try and make sure that you have a progressive workout that is gradually increases intensity, and it also increases the amount of weight that you're using. Make sure that when you do the exercises, you're performing the full exercises with the full range of motion, and make sure that you're focusing on the compound movements, which will give you the most bang for your buck. When it comes to food, I would make sure that you have between 4 to 5 meals a day, and make sure that the food is based around solid ingredients such as chicken, fish, steak, eggs, rice, oats, and do not underestimate the importance of micronutrients, which are vegetables, fruits, and salad. Another tip is essential fats. A lot of people when they first start out don't really understand or appreciate the importance of essential fats, especially when it comes to how the body is going to utilize and produce testosterone. So if you're new to the game, you want to add muscle, create 5 basic meals, stick to a structure, aim to train 3 to 4 times a week using compound exercises, and for those that aren't using supplementation, don't go out and purchase 20 supplements from the off. Just go for the basics. Go for your creatine, go for your whey isolate, and go for a carb powder. My drive when I started, I just wanted to feel better about myself. As I started getting results, as I started to grow, that's when I really fell in love with the industry, and I fell in love with bodybuilding, and I fell in love with what training and dedication can do for you as an individual, but can also do for you in a career pathway. For me, the fitness industry has opened up many goals. It's opened up goals in the industry to work with, to work alongside fantastic supplement companies such as Redcon One. It's also opened up avenues in the film and TV world. Let's not, pretend that I've got jobs in TV and film for my acting skills. It comes down to the way I look and how I can perform, which ultimately is a result of training. There are many benefits from muscle gain, especially if it comes to sporting activities. But the benefits for me to muscle gain were a lot more intrinsic. It made me feel better about myself, it made me feel healthier, and it made me more confident. On the back end of that, it allowed me to develop my career. So whatever the purpose of bodybuilding is for you, whatever you want to add muscle, just remember it's possible. It's not a 5-minute journey. It does take dedication and focus, but make sure you stay consistent and persistent in the pursuit of the ultimate dream.